Hello everybody. As we discussed in our previous videos, 2025 April to 2026 April would be treated as the final year of Kaliyuga. So why this particular yuga is ending? We discussed all those things with planetary positions in our previous videos in the same channel. So the basic thing is almost all the planets are completing the zodiac. Of course, they did it previously also 30 years back or some years back, but if you observe all the planets almost at a time, right? Plus or minus 2 years or something like that, you can say, are completing the zodiac. That is one thing. Another one is we observe the scenario 2023, 2024 and 2025, right? So the ending, the planetary positions are showing a kind of ending, something like the clustering of the planets happened in 2023, but within a span of something like 72 degrees or something like that, right? Almost all the planets you could see in 2023. In 2024 the degrees even more decreased. In 2025 the cluster would be much more closer. We discussed all those things in our previous videos. It's something like, you know, the signaling is repeatedly. The universe wants to tell this is the ending of this yuga. So some people are thinking as this is the end of the Kaliyuga. So generally, they think a massive population degrowth or population loss they are afraid of. See, when one year ends, let us say 2023 is ended and 2024 started, then if I say 2023 is ending, then nobody would be afraid of that, right? Or if I take a group of 30 years, the group of 30 years, if I name something and if I say it's going to end, people may not be afraid of that because it's just a span of 30 years. Something like Saturn comes to Aries or Saturn comes to a particular sign once in every 30 years, right? People are not afraid of that as well. But when we say the yuga is ending, people are definitely afraid of the population loss. And of course, it's because if you see any yuga, let us say Treta Yuga or Dwapara Yuga, any yuga, the first yuga is Satya Yuga. If you take the yuga endings, there would be a very great war which would actually control the population. That means a very huge population loss could be seen the end of Treta Yuga because of the war between Rama and Ravana. And then in Dwapara Yuga at the end, you could see Kurukshetra, right? The war of Kurukshetra. So by the end of the great wars, you could see a very less population would be moving to the next yuga. That is where people are afraid of. And there are so many references, so many prejudices, so many imaginations about who would go to the next yuga, this kind of things. But really, who would go to the next yuga, very less people would be knowing this, right? And definitely, if you observe, the great people would never go to the next yuga. If you observe any kind of yuga, the yuga ending, only the normal people, only the very, very normal people would move to the next yuga. That's what happened. Even by the end of Treta Yuga, you could see a massive population loss, and the people who moved to Dwapara Yuga had a very less knowledge about Treta Yuga also. The means the kind of characters they had, right? Of course, so many people had that knowledge, but a very less amount of knowledge. It's because they just heard about those things. They just heard about those things, and they might be writing it somewhere, and the sculptures would be constructing some good temples to for the future generations to know the heritage and everything. The major point I want to make is the population that moves to one yuga to another yuga is actually a very normal population. A very, the people are very normal. They are not very, very great people. That's what I want to tell actually. Right? Because the great people would be participating in the war, or the great people would be targeted in the war, right? Both the sides. And even if you observe the Russia-Ukraine war, people who died, great generals died, great warriors died, because a great warrior tries to fight first, right? Means first in the sense both the sides, the toughest fighters, they try to, because they know that they have the skill and they can dominate in the war, and they try to be first in the war, and there comes a kind of death energy. So the major point I want to make here is, when a very great war occurs, the great warriors would be dying, the great people and the rich people would be targeted, because when a country lost its great warriors and rich people, the country is almost losing the war. That's a fundamental thing, right? Because when a country targets the great people, the rich people and the great warriors of the other country, the other country's mental strength would be decreased, right? And the other country may not have much resources, right, to fight in the war. It's something like you have so many machines in the war, right, to fight, to take the help. And let us say a person who knows how to operate the machine is dead. Then what's the use of that machine? So generally, the intelligent person, the intelligent people who can operate the machinery of the war would be targeted. The rich people would be targeted, right? When the rich people are dead, rich people actually generally have lot of circle, lot of contacts, lot of ideology, to promote the resources of a country. And if you observe wars, another thing is the bridges are targeted, because the bridges actually, not only bridges, whatever infrastructure is supporting harvesting and crops in the country, they are targeted. Because when the crops are completely nullified, the people in that area would be impacted, right? And there would be a lot of pressure on the government, right? So the basic thing, of course, in this particular scenario, so many common people would be dying, but almost the great people would be vanished, 90%, and the common people, I think 70 to 80% would be, you know, would be dying. Only some kind of 20 to 25% people, if they are remained, then just imagine, in these 20 to 25% of the people, majority of the people would be the normal people, So now you can think, is a Kaliyuga, at the end of Kaliyuga, is really required? Just imagine why it is actually required. So if you observe the people, they are not actively involving or actively interacting with the nature, right? That's where they are becoming lifeless. So when the people are becoming lifeless, so there is a kind of lifeless energy rotating all over the world, and a lifeless energy is a negative energy, and that of course manifests war only, right? Let's take a person, he is interacting with all the five elements of the nature, the Panchabhutas, and he is very much active, and he is not using any kind of electronic gadgets or any kind of machinery that would hamper the performance of a human being, right? And the person would be happier, because when they do not have machines, when they do not have any kind of technology that would impact the health of human society, generally humans interact with each other. Humans interact with animals. Humans interact with trees, right? Rain. So just imagine when we actually saw rain and enjoyed that rain. Very few people, right? Previously, in olden days, people used to enjoy rain a lot. Just observe the intensity of enjoyment also. When it was raining in olden days, people were enjoying a lot. The kind of enjoyment, the intensity of enjoyment, if you have a machine to measure the intensity of enjoyment in olden days, the intensity of enjoyment was good. They were really interacting with the nature. And even before, when television was invented, just imagine how people used to interact with each other. So there are some sayings, right? Ati sarvatra varjiyat, means too much is always dangerous. So it is too much now. A human interaction is completely vanished. Human to human interaction and human to nature interaction, all are completely vanished. Then what is the purpose of this whole human society? Just to interact with machines, just to type alphabets A to Z. What humans are doing generally, if you observe on daily basis, if you just observe, take some 200 people around you, what they are doing since morning till night, complete day, they would be interacting with some kind of machines. They are typing alphabets A to Z, can be a WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever. They interact, and To get groceries also they interact with mobile applications. The whole thing is something like, if you observe, we are not even noticing it. It's something like the people are behaving like machines only. They're typing alphabets all the time. Even if you observe some of the people, they only type in laptops, only in mobile phones. So this kind of behavior, the whole behavior is very, very dangerous, right? So do you expect God wants this kind of human society? Then why God created a nature, you know, and even more, He created a kind of relationship between all of them, the nature, right? The animals, the humans. They, He created a kind of good relationship. And even I heard, if there is, I think it's bee, if there is no bee in the world, the whole cycle would be disturbed, right? And why God created such kind of cycle? Why God created such kind of cyclic reaction? So definitely God wants these humans to interact with the nature, interact with the animals, interact with the Panchabhutas. That's what He wanted very clearly, right? That's very much evident. You can clearly see it around you. But what we are doing, we created machines which are actually hampering the growth of humans, hampering the humans' energy. So many patients all over the world, right? So many patients. So humans created so many machines, and they knew, that time they knew these would impact the environment. You take refrigerator, you take air conditioner, you take any kind of machine. Almost all the machines, they generate heat, which ultimately are causing the global warming. So they clearly knew, by the usage of these machines, the environment would be disturbed, and the seasons that God created would be disturbed. So what humans actually did so long is they tried to disturb what God created with the help of technology, right? So it's not that, inventions are, I'm not saying no one should invent something. Everybody can invent something, but when they come to know that that invention is impacting the environment, when they know that the invention is killing other animals, is killing the birds, is killing the other natural beings existing in the nature, in the world, on the earth, or in the ocean, right? They should stop the innovation, right? It's not that they invented something and they wanted to show their talent, their pride, their ego. They have to satisfy their ego, so they are going to release that invention in the market. It's not at all a good thing, but humans did it, right? That's the mistake that humans did, for sure. That's why the global warming, right? That's why the seasons are completely disrupted. We don't know we are in which season. We think it is summer and suddenly outside it would be raining. And we think, the farmers think the rainy season would come, and they make everything ready for rains to come, and then they wait for rains and no rains. and when they don't expect any kind of rains and the rains come, right? So there should be some end point for all this. End point in the sense, it's not like everything is going to be vanished. It's not that. Definitely some percentage of the people, some percentage of the population would be entering to the next yuga cycle, right? And it seems you may think, is that really the 2025 to that is April 2025 to April 2026 would be, ending most of the population? It seems that as per the planetary positions, there would be lot and lot of population control that's going to happen for sure. No other doubt. So some people say, the people committing bad deeds, doing some bad deeds, they would be vanished. I do not have such information. But generally speaking, karma has to work, right? There is a concept of karma that everybody believes in. So if someone has been doing so many bad deeds, he has to be vanished, obviously, because the next yuga is much more better than this yuga. Generally, if you observe the transition, a transition from one yuga to another yuga is a kind of yuga controlling dharma. If you observe the dharma points in one yuga, like Satya Yuga, you take the dharma points would be 4, in Treta Yuga only 3, and then Dwapara 2, and then in Kaliyuga it's only 1. So generally we expect this 1 to go to 2, then 3, then 4. So again, the Dwapara Yuga, in the Dwapara Yuga also there would be some kind of, so everything starts very slowly and then picks up and then go down, right? That's a normal behavior of the nature. Even if tsunami comes, a tsunami starts very, very slowly and then it picks up and it shows its maximum and then it falls down. It goes down. The intensity goes down after some time. So as per the natural behavior, we expect we would be moving to a Dwapara Yuga. Means the dharma points would be increasing. That is the natural expectation, right? Because we cannot decide that based on the planetary positions. We cannot say we are moving from Kaliyuga to Dwapara Yuga or Kaliyuga to Satya Yuga directly 1 to 4 points directly. If there is a massive destruction of the people, even if there is a massive destruction of the people, right, then also the remaining people would be having the knowledge of the existing things and they may move ahead, right? Only after a complete destruction and a very less amount of population being survived, we can imagine a Satya Yuga. If very little amount of population is survived, then only we can see Satya Yuga, because the people that would be remained would have very less information about the current technology if very less number of people are going to be survived. right? So the main thing I want to tell you, based on the planetary positions we discussed almost in the previous videos also in the channel, if you observe end of Kaliyuga videos, there we mentioned already in 2022 or 2021, long back itself. So when people are not interacting with a nature, they are losing the life. They're losing the life, right? So when they are interacting only with the machines, machines are lifeless. So when you're interacting with machines continuously, you're actually creating a kind of lifeless energy, right? You're actually doing, when two humans interact, just see, when they interact, there would be a lot of smiling, lot of interaction, lot of emotions. It can be positive or negative, but ultimately two humans, when they interact, they have some kind of emotions, right? And most of the times people do not want to be unhappy. They, when they interact, they try to be happy only. So most of the times the energy that would be created has some life, right? It has some emotions and it has some life for sure, because two lively beings are interacting, then you can see some life. And that's what, when two humans interact, a kind of life energy is born. And the ultimate interaction, that's a kind of, we call it sex, when a male and female have sex, and that creates another human energy, right? So when two humans interact, there is a kind of, emotional energy creation, or some life energy you can just observe. But when a human interacts with machine, it's a kind of lifeless energy. And when so much of lifeless energy all over the world, you can see. So basically it's something like the whole world is manifesting lifeless energy with the help of the technology that they invented, they are proud about. And that's what attracting, that manifestation of this lifeless energy is attracting wars, And previously also what's happened, World War I or World War II, they happened, but the way they happened, if you observe those, the way that they happened were different, and the way that the wars happening after the invention of technology is completely different. So how it is different, we can talk about that in some other video, but I want to tell you, uh, you know a lot of lifeless energy creation attracting wars, and also the kind of invention like nuclear bombs, advanced technology being used in the warfare, these are all created for a massive destruction basically. And when there is a lifeless energy creation, humans may not be happy, then they may not be happier, right? They have some kind of sick mind, you can say, and that sick mind would be provoking them to initiate a war. So initiation of wars And when the wars are initiated at a particular point of time, they may have to use their advanced technology. And based on the planetary positions, if you see in the upcoming days, Saturn and Mars coming in 6-8 position, and Mars is going to be debilitated. Such kind of period is coming. We will talk about that in our next video or some other video soon. So this kind of behavior between Saturn and Mars would trigger more and more wars. And when Mars is reaching Cancer, that would energize more and more, more and more wars. So that we will talk about in our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching this video.